Hello, everybody. Welcome to this month's State of the Platform address. I'm here with my most wonderful business partner, Ryan, and we're here to give you some updates on the Funneler platform. It's great to see so many of you on the line. Do me a favor, jump into the chat box. Just give me a quick yes if you can hear me and see me clearly, just so we can do a quick check on that. Make sure the chat box is working. And at the same time, Ryan, perhaps if you want to pop your webcam on just real quick, and we can make sure that's working.
Yeah, I'm here, but my webcam is locked. You're gonna have to give me some permissions.
Oh, no problem.
You probably need to give me permissions to do some screen sharing as well.
Yeah, I've just made you a co-host. That should have you sorted there.
Excellent.
And I'm not seeing.
All right.
Here we go. Forgive me, everyone. The chat box was made inactive, and it is now active. So come on over to the chat box, join the party over there, and you should be able to see. Okay, awesome. Michelle, fantastic. Alison, Liz, Lisa, Louise, Khalid. Was moving too fast. Charlie, Jennifer, Shahab, Howard, Kyle, loads of you. Fantastic. So good to have you on the line. Ryan, it's been a busy month and a half, right? We've had a lot going on.
Yeah, this has been a pretty big one. It was a good thing we delayed slightly because we had some really big things in the pipeline. And so the plan to wait a little bit longer, I think, has paid off. I'm very excited about today's release or the release that we're going to be doing in a while or in a couple of days. This is probably the most excited I've been about a release so far. So, yep, keen to get into it and show everyone what we've been working on.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, just a couple of quick housekeeping. Just as Ryan mentioned there, we were typically aiming for the first Monday of the month, and you will realize that we're not on the first Monday of the month, and it's exactly the reason Ryan just mentioned. This has been a big release. There's a lot of stuff that Ryan and the team have been working tirelessly on. It's incredibly exciting. We're really pleased for you to see it. And the system is, and I'm sure Ryan's going to share more about this in just a moment anyway, but the system's just in such a good place at the moment. And we're both very excited about that. As you all know, I say it every time, but of course you came in as beta users, and we appreciate that so much. And, we're really getting to this point now where we're not really experiencing many problems at all, if any. I mean, this is just, it's pretty smooth at the moment. All of our users are really happy. And if there is anything that comes up, we're getting to it so quickly. So we are actually going to be reopening the for the ability for new members to join Funneler, and we're actually going to be doing that this week, and that is the first time in 4 months. For the past 4 months, we've been literally locked down. No one's been able to get in. And it's just been you guys, our loyal beta users. And so again, we're so grateful for you. And the last 4 months, we have put the system and the platform above profit. The last 4 months, we've made no money as a company. And all we've done is just focus on build, make this the best frigging platform on the planet. And we're now ready to invite some new people on, which will be really exciting. So I've got one thing that I want to share, and then we're going to hand it over to Ryan. There's been a lot of requests for people to bring their lists onto the Funneler platform. A big selling point of Funneler, and it's at the heart of everything that we do and everything that we built, is that we truly want it to be, your all-in-one platform. We want you to be able to cancel as many other subscriptions as possible, so that you can save on those monthly subscriptions and achieve it not only in the long run cheaper, but obviously easier, because everything is under one roof, one umbrella. And so that's what we, that's been at the heart of everything that we've done. So many of you have been wanting to bring your email list on as well, so that you can be doing all of your email marketing, not just to new leads, but to your existing leads that maybe you've got on another platform. In fact, let me know in the chat box. We've got tens and tens of you on the line. So let me know in the chat box if you currently have an email list that is on another platform. You've got it on ActiveCampaign, you've got it on MailChimp, you've got it on Kartra, or anything of that nature. Just go ahead and let me know. Jeb says I'm dying to import my list. and cancel the other email platforms. Sarah says yes. Luke says yes. Yeah, we've got Alison's HubSpot, Active Campaigns. There's a few of you, and we were already aware. Well, we already allow you to upload your list into Funneler. But as you know, we've been very protective over the system. Very protective over the IPs, very protective over our deliverability, and very protective over knuckleheads coming in and ruining the party for everybody. So we have allowed the ability to import your list. And if I miss any of the finer details, Ryan, please feel free to interrupt me and jump in. But we have allowed the ability to import a list. And what I would like to request of you, and it's a request, but it's also a training point, because this is better for literally everybody involved. What I would like to suggest and request of you is that you essentially clean your list before you bring it in. And I don't know if any of you actually do this already, but if you don't, this is just a good practice to do anyway. Go ahead and let me know in the chat box if you currently do any kind of email list cleaning. Just go ahead and say yes. If once every 3 months, 6 months, a year, 1 month, 2 days, doesn't matter what it is. If you go ahead and you start to clean your list of leads that have become inactive or are no longer interested or don't open your stuff, just go ahead and give me a yes. Okay, got a lot of yeses coming in. Fantastic. For those of you that don't, this is so important. If you currently just build your list, you email those leads, and you never seek to find out whether you're actually achieving the open rates that you really should. And perhaps if it's too low, it's because you're emailing leads that don't want to hear from you anymore, or maybe they've become inactive. There's loads of these things that could be going on behind the scenes. And if you're not paying attention to that, you're going to find it's going to hurt your business overall, in many areas. Because if you continue to email people that don't actually want to hear from you, and perhaps haven't opened an email in 6 months' time, then what is that telling the system that you're emailing from? It's telling them that you keep emailing people that don't want to hear from you. And so the more time that passes, the more leads become inactive. The more leads become inactive, the more the bulk of the emails that you're sending are going to people that shouldn't be receiving them. So you're wasting emails. There's no point in sending them anyway. But secondly, now your deliverability is going down because the platform you're emailing from is not looking favorably on your account. So deliverability is going down, but at the same time, your overall open rate is not good either. You'll start getting down to 10, 15% open rate. We regularly clean our list, and we're able to maintain 50% open rates. And that's mailing a list of 30,000 people. Now, that's pretty unheard of. I mean, there's not many people that can achieve that. It's because we tidy our list up. So we've already spoken about this, right? I believe it was 2 State of the Platforms ago now. Gosh, time is flying. But 2 State of the Platforms ago, we talked about this process of tagging leads as engaged, disengaged, and inactive. And I said that this is something that we've been doing for a very long time. After a period of time, if a lead is has become disengaged, they're not opening emails anymore and they're not clicking on things, then we don't say they're engaged anymore. We say they're disengaged, and we might send them slightly different emails. And then if another 30 days passes and they go from disengaged and they fall into a category called inactive because they've not done anything in 60 days, we would perhaps not even really touch those leads. Maybe every now and again we might dip back in and just do an emergency email just to see if there's any life in that list anymore, but then we won't really touch it too much. And then you'll remember that we built into the Funneler system a way for this to happen automatically. So we've got lead scoring. So when leads come into your platform, they're going to have a score, and that score is going to go down and down and down as they become disengaged and eventually inactive. So you can plan your marketing around who in your database you want to email. And this is all happening automatically for you. So there's no need to do any tagging or things like this. So that's already in there. And that was an amazing feature that I was really, really excited about when Ryan built that. So coming into this system, you want to be bringing the leads that you know are currently still active. Otherwise, you're going to bring leads onto the platform that are, we could call them dead leads. We could call them inactive leads. And straight away in your funneler system, you're not going to be achieving the email marketing results that you could be or that you want. So here's my very, very simple solution, request, and lesson for you, okay? For every single one of you that want to bring your database into the funneler system, here's the simple step to do. You can go back over a period of time that you feel would demonstrate that someone is perhaps still in some way active, or they haven't rolled over into inactive yet. And my suggestion, and this is a rule of thumb because I can't speak to every single one of your businesses, but say 90 days. 90 days, go back. Let's say you're in, let's take an example from someone that mentioned, okay, ActiveCampaign. So you go into ActiveCampaign and you can go back through all of the emails that you sent over the last 90 days, and you can go and find the people that opened those emails, and you can tag them as move to funneler, for example. And you could go through manually and you could find every single email that you sent over the last 90 days and tag all of the people that opened as move to funneler. And you don't add that tag or apply that tag to anyone else. It has to be people that have actually engaged. Now, the reason why I said 90 days is a bit of a rule of thumb, because I don't know every single one of your businesses. Well, if you are emailing literally twice a day, every single day, then maybe 90 days is not needed. Maybe you could do 45 days. Because obviously the volume of emails that you sent within that 45-day period, if someone has not opened, well, what would that be? 2 emails a day for 45 days, 90 emails. If someone's not opened 90 emails, they're probably not active still. But if you're only emailing once a week, maybe you need that 90 days, because that's only a total of, what's that, 12 emails if it was once a week. So make sure it works with your business, the volume of emails that you've been sending, but ultimately only tag those that you know there's a chance they're still active. And then you can export that list of move to funneler list and import that into funneler. You're going to be able to have a fresh start in your business. You're going to be able to bring over the best of your leads and leave the stuff that is really showing to be inactive. And now what you could do, I mean, another little tip, do with this what you will. Now you could be marketing all of your funnels, your webinars, your videos to the people on your ActiveCampaign account that goes through an opt-in, and that opt-in has obviously been built on the funneler system. So you've moved across your best leads, and now slowly but surely, you're able to continue getting perhaps what's left until eventually you can just close down your ActiveCampaign account. Or if you're very keen, like, who was it? Jeb, dying to import my list and cancel other platforms, then you could just move across your actives, make sure they're the best of what's in there, and then you could just cancel your account straight away. So without further ado, I mean, I've kind of explained that in relative detail, but my understanding, Ryan, is that, I mean, someone could bring across 10,000 leads tomorrow if they wanted to, and we've got all of the systems in place to make sure that we're not allowing people to ruin the party for everyone else. That's one thing that we're very good at here at Funneler, is once we learn something and we've seen how something's been done, and I say we, I'm taking credit for something that Ryan is incredibly good at. Ryan is perhaps one of the best problem solvers I've ever met. So once something happens, he will not allow it to happen again and put stuff in place. So I don't know whether, I know you've spoken about this on previous calls before, but maybe a quick whistle stop tour for someone like, I just saw a comment here from,
Yep.
I think it might have been Howard, who said, I'm just a bit nervous to bring my list across. And maybe that's because of what happened before. So maybe you could very quickly talk to the preventative measures we've put in place to make it great for those that are doing great things, and actually make it impossible for people to ruin the party.
Sure. So we've done quite a lot. When that IP situation happened, you'll probably remember me posting a video to Facebook saying, that there's only one person to blame, and that was me. And I made a whole list of all the things that I had missed. And on the back of that, those were lessons learned. And it's not just a case of now we've done what we should have done initially. I've almost on all the state of the platforms, I keep on touching on, and we've done this and that in terms of the back end of the email. Even to this release, to this current release, we're still doing things on the back of that, because that's a situation that can never, ever, ever, ever be allowed to happen again. So we've gone so far above and beyond what most platforms do to keep their IPs safe that it's kind of ridiculous, from monitors to throttling of new sends. So if you send out a bunch of emails, we let them through in increasing speed. So I'm not going to go into all the details, but we'll send out a bunch, we'll pause for a second, we'll see if people are complaining, we'll then send out a bigger bunch, we'll pause for a second, we'll see how people engage and what the browsers are, or the email clients are saying, and then we'll release the rest of them. So if somebody starts sending out a bunch of emails and they shouldn't, where they shouldn't be, we'll pick that up immediately and shut it down before it becomes a problem. We've got different ranges of IP addresses, and depending on your reputation with us, it's going to send through different ranges of IPs. So we've got a more high-risk collection of IPs, so you could get downgraded to that if you are not really following the rules, but you aren't sinning so badly that you can't send at all. So if you're not irredeemable, then you're going to be on that list, that higher risk. But if you're doing things really well, we're going to be pushing those numbers up. And I don't know if I shared this on the Facebook community or just directly with John and his team, but we use a bunch of tools to monitor and protect our IPs. But one of the tools that we use just to check what our reputation is looking like is mailtester.org. I've probably posted a bunch of links over time, and you've probably seen that. But it basically gives you a score between 1 and 10, and most systems are getting like 8 or 9. When we were seeing, when people were using SendGrid, for example, connected to our system, people were getting sort of 8. Some really good systems are getting 9.5, 9.8. And most of our IPs, like our high-risk IPs, for example, are getting 9.8. But as of our most recent test, we are getting on our high-tier IP addresses, our really well-protected ones, the ones that John is using and that you guys would also use as you move up through the ranks. We're getting 14 out of 10 for those IPs because they're being, they're whitelisted and all sorts of things. So we at this point, and there's a lot of stuff that we do to protect the IPs, but they're generally quite technical. And another thing that we're doing to protect the IPs is that feature John mentioned, where we're emailing engaged people based on those parameters. So we automatically make sure that everyone's sending emails to engaged people. And if somebody keeps on, even if they've got a clean list, and when you import your list, we verify it and all sorts of things. But even if you have a clean list, if you keep on sending emails to people who have subsequently become disengaged, your reputation starts to slip and you end up on the high-risk IPs. So we have all sorts of algorithms that track how you're engaging with your list. And when you engage well, you start moving on to those, 14 out of 10 IPs. And if you start doing things that you shouldn't, you start moving down. And so what that means is if you follow the rules, you are going to be on IPs with people who are following the rules. And if somebody breaks the rules, we have a collection of fail safes to prevent that from damaging our IPs. But even if those IPs were somehow damaged, those are collected onto a collection of high-risk IPs that you are not going to be part of because, of course, you're going to be following the rules. So just at a very high level, that's a bit of what we're doing. But, every single release, we add new protections, new fail-safes, new functionality to protect those IPs. And that's, one of my highest priorities.
Very cool. Love it. So that was my first and only update really for today. So if you're wanting to move your lists on, you absolutely can. We'll welcome you with open arms. We've got the preventative measures in place to make sure that everyone's safe. Your lists are going to be in good health on the platform. And of course, we want to help you succeed in your business in every way. And this is just another one of those. So without wasting any more time, Ryan, you've got, a bunch of stuff that you're going to be going through today. Lots of exciting stuff. So I'm going to shut up. I'm going to hand it over to you and take it away.
All right, so let me just start by sharing my screen. You guys should be able to see a Funneler dashboard. I can't actually see the chat. So if you can see the Funneler dashboard, just drop a comment in the chat so that I know it's working. And John, you can let me know if we're good to go.
Yeah, and let's also just let's just check that you can get the chat up in case something happens with my internet.
There we go.
You can see it.
Yep.
Perfect.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay, great. So I'm going to go through a few things, and this is actually an update that I think is going to be really exciting for new members, but it needs a bit of introduction for existing members. And that's why I didn't want to release this version until we had a state of the platform, because I wanted to address you guys as our existing beta users and just give a bit of context for what we've done. Some of the functionality I think is going to be super valuable, but it's a bit of a shuffle, and it's something that you're going to have to learn to navigate. Now, it's not going to be huge. And also the type of update that I'm going to be sharing with you now is the sort of update that's only going to happen once every couple of years. But when you guys signed up, obviously we hadn't had tons of people using the system. And so we couldn't figure out where the catch points are, where people are getting stuck, etc. And since then, we've just had tons and tons of data coming in from you guys. You guys have been filling out surveys. You guys have been using the system, and we've been tracking how the system is being used and getting some info from that. And we've also been doing all sorts of other really interesting tests. So as an example, we have people who've never used Funneler before come in, and we'll say, this is what Funneler is. Would you please add a payment gateway? And they've never seen Funneler before, and we see how they try to add a payment gateway, and we record this, and we see what they click on, and then they get lost, and then we see patterns. People keep on clicking here to try out a payment gateway, and we'll see what happens, and then we'll make adjustments. Then we'll get a whole new collection of people in who've never used Funneler, and we'll get them to go through the system and click on things, and we ask them the same questions, and we see if our changes are making the system simpler and more intuitive. And based on the interaction that you guys have had, based on those sorts of studies that we've done, we've made some updates with the idea of really simplifying the system. And, we've got those S's. One of the S's, one of our values, is for the system to just be simple, for it to be extremely easy to use. And so in this version, we've taken a lot of data that we've collected from existing members, from people who are trying the system out for the first time, and we've invested a lot of energy into making the system really simple. We've also actually added a new S to our collection of S's, which is smooth. And the idea there is making it really smooth and seamless to get started, to set up a new system. So a lot of what I'm going to talk to you about today is around the user interface and the user experience and the onboarding process and training and how you get training and so on. I am also going to dip into some really cool features. But before I start on the features, I want to talk about some of those general things and just kind of introduce those to you. All right, so let's start off with the quick start training. One thing that when, we're going to, as John mentioned, we're going to start bringing on our next group of people. So you guys came in with the group of beta users, and now we have our silver version out. And so we're going to have silver users joining as of Thursday. And we learned a lot from you guys going through the system. And one of the things that's really key is helping you and other people who are signing up to learn the system really quickly. The feedback that we got was pretty overwhelming. You probably sent this, and I say that because everybody sent this piece of feedback in. Where do I get started with the training? There are hundreds of training videos on the YouTube channel. Where do I get started? Where are the 4 or 5 videos I should watch to get going? And so this is how this is going to work. And this is actually going to be beneficial to you as well. But I'll bring that all back at the end. So when you sign up for a system, you go through a little sign up wizard, and we're going to ask you about your business. We ask you what kind of products you sell, what your team looks like, etc. And this is actually going to appear on your dashboard after the release. But the basic idea here is that after you give us some information about your business, we create a custom quick start training series for you based on the type of business that you run. So let me actually just, you'll see over here, I can click on this, and it opens up this playlist for me on the right-hand side. And it says that this playlist is based on your onboarding survey, and you can click on this to update the answers that you gave to the various questions. So you can see, do you have a team? Yes or no? And because I have a team, and these are just example videos, but because I have a team, we have a video here called adding staff accounts as an example. Now, you don't need to know about adding staff accounts if you don't have a team. So if the answer is no if the answer is no for that, then of course we wouldn't include that video. So the idea is that you guys will be able to give us some information about your business. Do you have an existing website? If you have an existing website, we're going to give you exact steps on how to move across your domain. If you don't have a website, we're going to skip that. And even as an existing member, by just filling this out, and again, you're going to see this when we upgrade you, there's going to be a pop-up that allows you to give some information. You'll be able to give us some info about your business, tell us what kind of products you sell, etc. And you'll see that we're going to put together, in this case, a series of 10 videos that will help you get started really quickly. I just added an extra answer and it went up to 12 videos. So a couple of extra videos around programs and how those work. So the idea here is just to really get you as fast as possible set up and running on your on a new Funnel account. So before I move on, John, any comments on that?
No, well, no comments other than how great it is, and there's lots of comments coming into the chat with loving that feature. So great,
awesome. So that kind of ties into the next feature, which is going to be more applicable to existing members, and that is the actual training feature itself. So we've got this playlist, and you can increase the size of it so you can see a little bit better what's going on. And also, if you're playing the video, you can full screen it. But the idea here is we're going to be putting together training. Instead of training on YouTube, the training is going to be fully integrated into the system. And one of the interesting things that we're going to, well, one of the key ideas here is that as you navigate throughout the system, this training video is going to keep on playing. It's going to remain in place. And we're going to design these videos. They're going to zoom in to the different elements, etc. So instead of having to have two screens, instead of having to switch back and forth between tabs, you'll be able to pull up a training playlist, whatever that is, click the play button. This can also be moved if it's in the way of something, but click the play button and then follow along with your system, and it's going to tell you what to do, and you're going to just be able to follow that as we go. So that's basically bringing the training directly into the system, and you'll be able to access that over here. So you can click on learning, and from there you'll be able to go to tutorials, which is going to open up all of the playlists. And then you'll be able to search those playlists. At the moment, we've only got the one playlist. So what you can expect over the next while is the production of a lot of training content. But I haven't been able to do the training content because the UI is changing quite a bit. So we've got to get the new UI out, and then I'm going to start attacking the training content. But you'll basically be able to search directly from your system. You'll be able to find the content that you're looking for. You'll be able to play that. It's going to zoom in so that you can see what's happening, and you can just follow along without having to switch between tabs, without having to have second screens, etc. So that is our training library. And then one more thing I'm just going to add to this is that we've got another feature related to training, which is at the bottom of every page. We've got a learn more about this page link, and you'll be able to click that. And again, haven't put the training here in this example, but that's going to give you training on how the page that you're on right now works, how it works in the context of the other functionality. And so if ever you get stuck, maybe on the Messenger and you don't understand how something works, you'll be able to click learn more about this page. It's going to open the Messenger training. You'll be able to go to split tests and experiments or whatever it is that you're looking for. So the idea here is basically to shorten the distance between you and the answer to your question. I don't want you to have to go to YouTube and search for things. You know, this is going to bring up relevant training based on the place that you are right now. And if you need to, you can always go back and search directly inside of the platform. It's also easier to actually watch that training because it's going to be right there, and it's going to be designed to be played in a small amount of space. So that is, 3 features that we've added related to training. Yep, John, anything on that?
No, it's just great. I'm so excited about this, and I know we usually take questions at the end, but just a quick topical question. Samantha said, "Is this going to be for existing users too? So that quick start will appear for them?"
Right. So when we upgrade you, you're going to be met with a little pop-up that'll just say, "How do you plan on using Funler?" And you'll be able to put in that information. And I think that even for existing members, because you guys didn't have the benefit of a quick start playlist when you got started, there are holes in your knowledge. It's something that we've kind of picked up, where there are certain things you're using workarounds or suboptimal approaches because you aren't aware of certain features. So you're going to be presented with that pop-up, and I would recommend, even if you understand the system, going through that quick start playlist and just brushing up on that.
Yeah, perfect. Great.
All right. So the next thing that I want to talk about is the user experience, and I've got like 15 sub points on my little piece of paper here. So I'm probably gonna skip a couple of them, even though they're pretty cool. But one of the things that we really had problems with was the, just new users finding their way around. So there are a couple of things that we've changed, and this is the part that you guys may not really like that much because you've learned the existing system, you know where everything is, and it may have been difficult for you to figure that out initially, but now you know where it is, and now I'm talking about how we've changed it. So your initial reaction may be, oh no, I like where everything is right now. But I think that once you've gotten the hang of the new navigation, I think it's going to be a lot easier for you to work with. And it's not just the navigation, it's the whole UX. So this is something that we picked up from you guys, but also from those experiments we did with users who had never used the system. And one of the things that shocked me, for example, is I said, could you please create a payment gateway, like set up a payment method? And basically nobody could do it. No one could figure out how to add a payment method. And it completely shocked me because obviously I know the system, so it seemed absolutely obvious, but no one was able to do that. And there were things like that that were a little bit confusing. And one of the reasons for that is payment methods used to be inside of products. Now, does that really make sense? A payment method for your checkout doesn't make sense that it's inside of products. Well, a lot of people thought that it would be inside of orders, but that a lot of people didn't think that that made sense either. So things, just finding people finding their way around, they kind of struggled a little bit. Certain things didn't really fit nicely into any category, and some things like payment methods kind of fit into multiple categories. So we've done a couple of changes here, and I'm just going to take you through those. Oh, one more thing that is consistent feedback that we received is that people felt overwhelmed. They landed on our system, they clicked on the navigation, and there were just so many options. There was so much, so many features that they didn't know what to do, and they just felt overwhelmed. And that kind of makes sense because if you think about it, each one of our menu items represents an entire system. You have Zendesk, for example. Their whole navigation relates to customer support. For us, Zendesk is represented, our Zendesk equivalent is in this one little menu item, Help Desk. So the collection is that we've got 10 systems in one, so many nav items. And so folks would come along and they just feel overwhelmed. Then they wouldn't be able to find things. And so we really started focusing on that. And so here's what we've done. Firstly, we have simplified the menus by moving things into a setup space. So what this means is the setup space, this is things that you do once. It's not stuff that you do all the time. With your help desk, you're always going to be responding to tickets. That's a daily thing. Or creating canned responses and articles. That's a daily thing. But you're not always going to be, setting up your general settings or adding like community guidelines, things like that. Before, these things made up the entire navigation. And so it was really overwhelming. Now, we've kind of moved it into its own section. So it's not very hard to find what you're looking for because what used to be here in a long menu is now available by navigating through to that section. And then you can add your departments, add your forums, etc. And you do all of that, or your forms rather, you do all of that here. But then on a day-to-day basis, you're not confronted with all of that content immediately. Also, we've got this setup area over here so that, for example, if you're setting up things like payment gateways, you can go to setup and you can go to e-commerce, which is now a natural fit. You've got your payment gateways and payment methods. Now, we started by doing something like this, and a lot of people straight away, for example, were able to find payment methods, but some people were still clicking on orders, for example, to add payment methods. And that's where this approach came from. So the idea is that we have this setup area, and you can set up your entire system from this menu. But if you go to Help Desk setup, for example, that's just going to be a quick shortcut to get you to the setup area for the Help Desk. So you can access it from both directions. And again, this may feel a little bit different, but what we found is that for a new member, people are basically navigating the system really, really easily compared to the old system. It's going to take you a few minutes or, or a day or two maybe to get used to it, but I think it's going to make your movements through the system a lot simpler. So, John, any thoughts on that before I move on to the next thing?
No, it's just great. Let's keep going.
All right. So the next thing that we added was this search feature at the top. And sometimes you're looking for something and you just can't think of what the logical category is. So we wanted a way for you to jump straight to that. Payment, I keep on bringing the payment methods one. And the reason for that is just that was the most pronounced. Like no one could figure out how to add a payment method. So what we did in addition to the navigation here is we added this search, and as it says, search anything. So I can say payment, and it's going to show you payment methods, payouts, etc. And I can just go to the payment methods over here. I can click on that, and that's going to jump me straight to that feature. So whatever it is that you're looking for, if you're looking for tags, if you look like whatever it is, instead of searching for it or navigating to it through the primary nav, you can literally search for it, click on the link, and it's going to take you directly to the section. So again, just trying to make this as easy as possible, focusing on that one big S, simplicity, for people to find their way around the system. All right, so that's search. Anything on that, John, or can I keep going?
Let's keep going.
All right, so this is one that John really wanted. So, well, actually, before I even get to that, let me show you one other thing that I think is really nice. We've made a few changes related to the width of content. And so you'll see that if you are on, let's go to users, for example, you'll see that when we're on the users, the grid is now the full width of the page. And then when you go into the detail, it's narrower. In the past, the grids were as narrow as the content. So by making these grids wider, we've been able to add some additional columns to the grids that just makes it a lot easier for us to, for us to, generally we'll say, well, it'll be nice to have this piece of information, but there's just no space. And so now what we've done is we've gone full width with the grids. When you go into the details, they're narrow width. And with that, this is the feature I was saying that John really wanted. So our reports over here, firstly, you'll see that our reports are full width. So you can just see your data a little bit better. But we had a real problem, and that was that you would apply filters, like a date range, for example, and whatever else, a country, and you would apply those filters, but then you wouldn't be able to see what filters were applied to your data. So you'd see a nice looking graph, but you can't actually see how you'd filtered it, like what's the date range, what country, etc. And so in addition to making this bigger so that you can really get the full impact of your data, and we can add more detail and so on, we've also added these badges over here so that you can click on the badge, you can update the parameters, you can apply the filters. But when you're looking at your reports, you can see straight away what parameters are being used. So here you can see straight away, these are all the orders with the payment status of paid within this date range. And you don't have to keep on navigating between filters and out of them. So yep, that is one on John's list. Anything on that, John, or should I move swiftly on?
No, we keep going.
Okay, remember this is one item. That's why I'm kind of doing rapid fire. It's the whole UX side of things, and then I'm going to get into some features. One in particular, I think you guys are going to be very excited to see. So, I've got so many here, so I'm going to just skip some, just because we don't have a huge amount of time. But another one is views. Folks would often struggle to find views. In fact, a lot of you have asked if you can filter the results of contacts. Have any of you, could you just type one in the chat if you've used views to filter your contacts or your orders or your tickets, and a 2 in the chat if you wanted to do that, but you never knew that views existed. Okay. All right, got some 2s. And that's the problem. So a lot of people didn't know that you could do this. And the reason for it is in the past, you would go to your users area, and then you'd go to views, and you create a view with certain conditions. And then you'd go to the contacts, and you would apply the view. And that's just too many steps. So one of the things that we've done to a bunch of our grids is you can click on filter. You can then click add a view. And then you can add whatever filters you want. So you could say contacts, who have a certain access card and contacts who don't have. So you'll see here that we've now got one condition. Add as many conditions as we want. I'll just say my view. And that now becomes a view, and I can now apply that view, and it's going to filter all the contacts. If I want to then remove the view, I can click the close button. Now, that's not a new feature. That's an existing feature. But how crazy is it that so many of you wanted this and didn't even know it existed? And that's what's kind of, a feature that no one knows about doesn't count as a feature. So the fact that you guys will now easily, it's very intuitive. You go here, you click on filter, and you can now do everything from here. That unlocks a feature that previously you guys wanted, but you didn't even know existed, which is why I'm so amped about a lot of these user experience changes. I'm going to just do two more real quick. Cool. I'm seeing some positive feedback on that one. So that's awesome to see. And I'm going to do two real quick ones, and then we can move on to some more features. So the next one that we've done, and I think a lot of you are going to be happy about this, when you delete something, it no longer says type delete to delete. And this is something very interesting that we saw when we were doing recorded sessions with people. Folks would literally copy, delete, and then as they use the system, they just paste. It wasn't something that made you stop and think, oh, should I delete this? Because it was absolutely everywhere. So the fact that it was everywhere just made it an annoying thing you always had to do, and you became completely blind to the fact that we were giving you a warning. So what we've done, and you wouldn't believe how this smooths the feeling of using the system. When you delete, it just asks you to confirm, and you can click the delete button. And then on certain things that are really high risk, like when you're deleting a website, for example, then we'll say type delete to confirm, because if you delete this, you're going to be deleting 50 pages. That's like a really major thing. So it smooths out the process of like deleting things throughout your system, but then it really emphasizes when we say type delete, okay, hold a sec, let me just pause and think before I delete my website or my funnel. And hopefully this is going to, so some hallelujahs and some woos. Hopefully this is going to reduce the number of tickets we get with people saying, I deleted my website, and us responding, you had to type delete in. Why did you do that? We don't actually respond that, but that's how we feel. So hopefully that will help a little bit. And then I'm just going to do one more really tiny thing. It's tiny, but I think again, quite a few of you guys are going to like this one. This one I actually have to give credit to Luke. Luke asked for this feature, and I think it's pretty cool. So when and this is actually a global thing, so I'm just going to give one small example. When you have a contact, if you want to search for, if you've got a drop-down list with contacts, and this applies to all sorts of drop-down lists, you would often have many people with the same name. So you have like 3 or 4 people, maybe the same person opted in on 3 different email addresses, for example, and they've got the same name, or maybe they're multiple people with the same name. So maybe you're sending an invoice, or you're doing whatever, you're adding someone to a program, you are doing whatever you're doing, and you come in here and you search for Amy, and you find that there are 4 people named Amy Ramirez, and there's no way of knowing if you're sending the invoice to the right person. It's just like, there's no way of knowing it. So, and that's because in the old system, we just had the name of the person. We didn't have any additional information. And again, the same applies globally. So now our drop downs have got the person. Oh, and one other thing, sometimes some of you, and this was crazy. Some of you had people opting in without giving a name. You just asked for an email. So you'd click on this drop down, and you'd have a long list of nothing. It would just be empty. So you had to really know your client base to click on the right empty block to hit the user that you're looking for. So anyway, we've got these descriptions, and that's going to allow you to see the person that you are looking for. Now, these are just a few of the features in terms of the user experience. And I think that collectively, this is going to be just a massive quantum leap forward for the our first S, which is simplicity. Cool. So that's everything on UX. In fact, I'm going to have one more comment, and then John, maybe you can just chime in with anything that you'd like to say. But one more comment is, because I don't want to make this a whole section of its own, is the user interface. And I don't know, like, I guess this is the sort of thing that some people are going to value a lot, some people less so. For me, this is super important. And when you get the system, I think you'll see what I mean, but we've really gone in hard on the user interface. The system, there's a lot of things that weren't quite coherent from a design perspective. The system didn't look as nice as we wanted it to look. And we have, internally, we always talk about the back of the statue, like with the developers and the design team and so on. We talk about the back of the statue. And this is from, like, you've probably heard the old story about the what do you call the sculptor who is commissioned to create statues to go around the edge of a building, and the back of the statues are going to be against the building, and the front of the statues are going to show forward. And it's kind of an old story. I can't actually remember who the character is from, like ancient Greece, one of those sorts of stories. And the story goes that the sculptor is super late on his work. And when the person who commissioned him asks why, he said because he was putting a ton of effort into finishing the entire statue. In other words, he was doing incredible work on the back of the statue. And the person who commissioned him said, why did you waste all your time on the back of the statue? No one's ever going to see it. And he said, the gods are going to see it, and I know it's there. And that is how we think of the system. We do, like, one of our core values as a team on the development side is that we do our best work on the back of the statue. In other words, the most beautiful thing about the system is actually the code, the stuff that no one else can see. We obsess about making it absolutely, completely, totally gorgeous, to the point where I want to frame it and put it on my wall, if only it wasn't so long. So, we've had that, but the front of the statue, in my opinion, just hasn't been as beautiful as the back of the statue. So we put a ton of effort into designing, getting the user interface up to a level where I think it's now as beautiful as the code that powers it. So anyway, that's a kind of a longish story, but as you go through the UI, I think you'll see what I mean when you're using it for yourself. I think that the system is beautiful. We really focused on the detail. I mean, we hired an external consultant to help us choose between a 5 and a 6 pixel rounded border radius on many of the elements, because we just couldn't decide. We were that focused in on the detail. And I think that the new version of the system is just absolutely beautiful. And I'm so excited for you guys to get it. So anyway, that's UI, that's UX. John, anything on that, or should I move into other things?
No, well, let's move swiftly on. But no, it's all amazing, and it's so good. And there's so many great comments coming into the chat. People saying that you're going to put the support team out of business because there's going to be no requests anymore. No, this is great. This is it's just fantastic. But I don't want to waste any time just yapping about, because I know you've got loads more things to share.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next thing then. So the next thing is the marketplace, and this is something that was really, really big. It's you guys probably won't experience the full benefit of this just yet, because we've only got 2 apps at this point. But what we were building is not just those apps, but the infrastructure behind it that allows us to support a marketplace. So we've now got a marketplace where we can add all sorts of cool things. And the main app that I want to talk to you about is video hosting. And this is a dev system. And I'm actually not sure if I can enable this, but I'm going to give it a shot and we're going to see what happens. But basically what video hosting is going to do, as John was saying, our goal is to simplify your life by eliminating as many third-party subscriptions as possible. And a lot of you guys at the moment are using Vimeo and then embedding your videos into your programs through Vimeo. And we want to be able to just handle that all seamlessly. Unfortunately, hosting video is an expensive thing to do, so we can't just include it in the package. But what we can do is we can create an app that will cost probably less than Vimeo, certainly less than Cloudflare, certainly way less than something like AWS. So it's very, very affordable. And depending on your setup, probably a lot cheaper than Vimeo as well. And the idea here is that you can literally come into the marketplace you can see all of our apps. You can go to the Vimeo app, you can install the app. And what this is going to do is it allows you to upload videos, which is then encrypted. We protect it against download. We protect it against content piracy. We, it's only available through your domain. And now it's fully integrated with the system. So I'm going to try this. It's 50-50 on this dev system over here. But so with one click, not having to sign up for Vimeo, not having to go to any third-party system, one click, I install it. And I'm now going to have a module. And I'm going to add a lesson to my module of type video. I'm going to link it to a staff member, which has a nice email, so I know which one it is. Hit save. And now, instead of me having, I can still do a URL. So I can still go here and just enter a URL. But instead of having to do that, I can choose a file. So I can go in, select a file, and I don't have any videos. I should have probably got a video ready for this demo. But you would literally just upload that video. That video is going to appear here. And again, it's encrypted, anti-piracy. It streams really well. We distribute it into 4 different continents so that it plays really quickly from everywhere. And, this isn't like a Mickey Mouse video hosting thing. This is a really properly encoded, extremely efficient well-streamed, video hosting service. And it's just going to be fully integrated, and hopefully it's going to simplify your lives a lot. All right, tons of comments coming in. Applause, love it. If we had videos on, I'm hoping we would get some wiggly thumbs for this one, because I know that a lot of you guys were asking for this. So yeah, I see a couple of questions coming in, but let me just quickly hit the last couple of items, and then I'm going to come back and focus in on all of those questions. Sorry, I didn't have a video loaded up for this one. Would have liked to show you. Okay. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to create a funnel. Sorry, I'm getting a little distracted looking at the chat. Let me just minimize that. And I'm going to create a funnel. So my funnel, I'm going to link it to my default website, and I'm going to apply an opt-in template. So this is another one that John really wanted. But to be fair, I think all of you wanted this. Okay, so we have our funnel now. And the whole idea here is that you can design a funnel that you can look at and at a glance see exactly what's going on. And so we've added some new functionality related to funnel paths that I think is going to make your lives a little bit easier. So what you can do now is you can click on the funnel path. And if you want, you can add a path, the same as before. You can go in there and you can choose a color for your path, but then you can add a description. So this is my path, for example. Hit the save button. And so now you can start labeling your paths, and you can see at a glance what this thing looks like. And you can make your labels as long as you want. After a certain number of characters, it's going to disappear. But if you hover over it, it's going to give you the name. So again, just the idea of one of the key things of Funneler is that you can build, you don't have to navigate to everywhere to build a funnel. You can go straight to funnels and you can build your entire funnel, everything from here. You can add your list, you can add your email campaigns. This is like a master user interface. And then you can look at your business and see at a glance exactly how your funnels are structured. And having these labels is just going to make it that much easier to do that.
Yeah, and this was something I was asking for, everyone. I was nagging Ryan about this for ages, because there are some use cases where you do want to be able to give these names, as your funnels get bigger and there's more upsells that you're offering through your funnel. Maybe you've got multiple, outcomes that are happening. You want to be able to, at a glance, as with everything else in the system, right? Like our focus is on simplicity. So you want to be able to, at a glance, get the answers that you need. So I want to be able to glance this visual funnel builder and remind myself in an instant, oh yeah, that arm going down that way, all those pages, yeah, that was relating to, because I've labeled it above. So I'm really, really pleased with this, Ryan. Thanks.
Awesome. All right. Well, actually, I had some additional notes on sort of what we're going to be doing next, and which I can touch on. But those are the main things. Yeah, I think those are the main things that I wanted to go through with you today. We've got so much that we've done, but a lot of them are kind of smaller. So I think I'm just gonna stop at this point. And then, John, we can either go into the FAQ or we can talk a little bit about next steps. Now, what would you like to do next?
I think it would be great to couple together what you've shared already that's been executed, and maybe you can talk about some of the next steps things. Sharing stuff that is obviously concrete, definitely happening, great. If there's anything you feel is appropriate to let them know is coming down the pipeline, fantastic as well. And then maybe there's some things that we both know, maybe better to keep behind lock and key for the meantime while we fine tune some details. So I'll leave that over to you. If you share
some hints.
Yeah, there's many. The list is long. So if you share what's coming down the pipeline, and then maybe we'll roll into Q&A, and you can perhaps I'll leave you to do that, Ryan, seeing as the questions will be relating to things that you've showed. So then you can jump into the chat and tackle any questions that we've got.
Perfect. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about what's coming next, but there are a few things that we know for sure. I think that we've made a bit of a mistake in the past talking about, a lot of folks will ask them questions, when are we going to have this feature? And when are we going to, and under some pressure to give some sort of answer, I say, well, I can't say for sure, but probably in this sort of time frame. And the reality is that I actually just don't know. So for when you guys are asking questions, when we get into the Q&A, I think it's going to be going forward. One of the things that we really stick to is not making any promises that we can't keep. I want you to know that if I say we're going to be releasing this within this window, that's going to happen. I want you to know that everything I say, I do. And in the past, because I've just kind of wanted to give some thumb sucks, we've spoken about things and created some expectations, and even though we generally spoke in I hope, and I don't know if we can, and even though I said those sorts of things, it did create some expectations. And for us to have trust between you guys as a community and us as a team, I just want to make sure that when I say something, you guys know 100% that that's what's going to happen. So I'm not going to talk about specific features, but there are just two things that I'd like to touch on. So the first thing is that after the release of this version, we're going to be focusing heavily on training. I'm going to be putting out a lot of training. And the reason I want to tell you about this is because at the moment, when you start clicking on these links, you're going to see coming soon. That's going to be kind of annoying. And you're going to go to the tutorials and there's only one playlist. I just want you to know that firstly, I can't start the training. It's kind of a chicken egg thing. I can't start the training until we've got the new version released. Otherwise, I'm going to say, click here, and that thing's not going to exist. So we're going to release this. And with that release, you're going to have a couple of coming soons, but I'm rapidly going to be focusing on the training. So that's the first thing I want to talk about, or just wanted to mention in terms of the pipeline. The second thing I want to talk about is forms. And the reason I'm talking about this is because that's one of those things where we kind of said, we're really pushing to get that done. And it's been a lot longer. And a lot of you guys have been waiting for forms, and you still haven't had forms yet. And that's a mistake that I don't want to make again. I think I set up an expectation that forms were going to be done quicker, and forms are really, really big. And I just didn't know at the time. And we had so many feature requests, and basically the math looked like this. Should we do forms, or should we do 180 other things and other smaller things that would really impact everybody and move the needle? And we chose to do the 180. So what I can say is that from this release, after this release, we are going to be focusing, we're going to be putting an emphasis. And the reason I'm saying this is just because I want to set the record straight in terms of expectation. Once this release is done, the big focus is going to be on forms. I want to get that done because I've set that expectation, and we're going to be focusing on it flat out. Forms is massive. And you can think about this in terms of like Typeforms, for example. They charge about $100 a month just for forms. it's a system in and of itself. So we're going to be adding that as one small feature into our system. It's like building an entire system in and of itself. So we're going to be focusing on it flat out from now, from this release. I'm not sure exactly when it's going to be done, but I kind of want to fix the earlier mistake. I don't want to leave you guys waiting for this feature forever. So it's going to be the big focus. And once we've got that done, we're going to resume the 180 other features that everyone's waiting for. So that's pretty much it in terms of what's coming next. And I think we can get into questions. Does that all make sense to you with regards to just the general, the setting of expectations and how long it takes to do things and so on? And I just don't want you guys to feel frustrated when you say, well, when's something going to be released? And I say, well, I don't know. That's pretty annoying. But I'd like you guys to understand kind of the reason, right, that I'm doing that. So we have got some plans that I think is going to radically speed up the rate at which we release new features in the coming months. But for now, let's leave it at that. So let's get into some Q&A. What would you guys like me to cover next? Sorry if I've got some reading to do here, so you're going to see me staring at the screen for a little while. Okay, so question: when can we expect the feature adding files to the system? So adding lead magnets and downloads. So adding, uploading PDF documents, etc. At the moment, you can do it with Google Drive, or you could do it with Dropbox or anything like that. We are probably going to add an app to the marketplace that allows you to upload files. The reason we don't have it right now is because folks will upload like a 20 gig file or something like that, and obviously storing that amount of data is pretty darn expensive. So we don't have, that's kind of like a business in and of itself. So if you want to do something, you can pay Dropbox. If you're wanting to do something like that now, you can pay Dropbox, or you could use Google Drive for free up to a certain amount. And then we'll add something. It'll be very low cost, but like basically a cost covering feature inside of our marketplace. But again, I'm not going to tell you when. That is something that we want to do, but we're not going to do it until after we're not going to prioritize it over forms. So I can't tell you exactly when it's going to be done, but it is a priority. A lot of people are asking for that feature. So do you have another Funnelist seminar on Thursday? Is it good to attend? Well, the one that we're doing on Thursday isn't something like this. It's taking on silver users. So John is going to be presenting the system, explaining why it's good for your business, and he's going to basically be selling the system to a new collection of silver members. As John mentioned, we haven't actually taken on any customers since you guys signed up. So it's been months and months of not taking any clients, because we've wanted to spend our time polishing the system. And now that we have this version that I'm showing you, we're going to release that, and then we're going to take on our silver users. So that's what that webinar is about. It's not so much like a training or what's happening. It's more an invitation to silver members to sign up. There's probably a way to phase in forms. We're absolutely going to phase in forms. We're not going to create all the type form functionality at once. That's definitely necessary, but we do need to understand the ultimate solution, which means we have to mock up the ultimate solution, because where we're going impacts the first step. If we just build something, if we don't look into the future and figure out what we're doing, and we just build something, we end up taking a couple of steps, which is great, but there are a couple of steps in the wrong direction. Then we have to delete and reverse out of all of that and go in the right direction. So even though we're going to phase it, we first have to have a very solid idea of everything we're going to build. We have to create a framework that will support everything we're ultimately going to build. And then we start releasing incrementally with that ultimate vision in mind. The other major question, expectations regarding the affiliate program. So that's a great question. And that's actually what John was saying when he said, maybe don't mention everything right now. So the affiliate program, we are doing something very different from what, I've never actually seen anyone, not just in our industry, I've never seen anyone do what we're going to be doing with the affiliate program. And so there's quite a bit of complexity around it, making sure it's actually possible. We're creating models and all sorts of things to make sure that our plan is actually possible, because again, it's going to be really, really different. And so we're just trying to be very cautious. We don't want to release that just in terms of that integrity thing. When we release something, we want to release something good that you can trust, that you can back, that you don't have any concerns about. And so John and I have actually agreed on the basics, but we're trying to we're creating sophisticated models to figure out whether or not what we're planning is viable because of how different it is. So it's taking a little bit of time. I can't tell you exactly when it's going to happen. I'm so sorry, and now I have the pressure, and I feel like I should say, well, probably in the next X months or weeks or whatever. I feel like I should say that, but that's what gets us into trouble. So I'm not going to give you any idea about when it's going to happen. Just know that it is a very, very major focus. John and I have had tons. In fact, John and I had a 2-hour meeting about it this morning, and it's something that we're talking about constantly. So it's a big priority. So I have a feature request. Basically, I'd like to add some additional languages. So that's another quite highly requested feature. It's another big one, unfortunately. What we're wanting to do is create community-driven translations. So in other words, we'll allow you not just to add languages that we've translated, but you can add any language, and then you can do the translation, and that will become part of the system, and so on. So we have got feature, like that's all designed and mocked up. We already know exactly what we are going to do there. It's just a bit of a bigger feature. So that's something that we're going to look at shortly after the forms functionality. So will the video player have some of the features that Vimeo, for example, would have, like analytics and customizable video player? So a couple of cool things there. Firstly, it's going to automatically inherit from your website. So you may have, for example, a program, and maybe that program is on a couple of different websites. If you did it with Vimeo, let's say you made your player red, and on one of your websites that works because your accent color is red, on another website it doesn't. So when it comes to the customizable player in terms of the design, it's actually going to inherit from your website. So the accent color will pull from the accent color of your site. So we've got stuff like that. There are options to customize the player at the moment. They're very basic options, and this we're doing kind of the phased approach there. So we've got the basic functionality out, and we're going to start. We've already built the backend for analytics, for example, but we don't have a front end for you to look at the analytics. So we've got the framework in place. We're going to be adding to it, but we didn't want to wait until it was absolutely complete in every regard before releasing. You can already use it, and some of the analytics and other features like that are going to be released soon. So some of the features are only available in English. Will this change? So yes, in fact, if you've got a specific language that you want it to work in, or if something is our whole multi-language features is a complete beta feature. So they're missing translations. We can add those translations, but we don't have people who speak every language in the team. So we could give you a file, which you could then translate into whatever language you want, and we can add that to the system. So if you want, you can actually help us with that. You can say, I'd like to add whatever language. We'll give you something that you can fill out, basically translate a whole bunch of words, and then that gets added to the system. That's something that we're going to build in future, where you'll be able to translate things, submit it, it gets approved by other, like a whole community-driven thing. But in the meantime, you can actually translate the system, and we can add that as a feature. Right. So Jennifer asked about forums. I'm basically saying you'd like to have a space where people can hang out and put that inside of programs. Is that possible? We do have forum functionality. So the way that works is you can go, well, now it's in setup. So you can go to setup, and you can go to social, and you can add your forums to this area. And then you can go to your website and you can add the forum module to the page. And you can link it to whatever forums you've created, and you can add rules and so on. So let me just quickly go. You can add your community forum. At the moment, there are no forums, but you can then put this inside of your membership site, for example, and you can say it's all forums need to be here, or you could create a specific forum just for your membership site, for example, like for a particular program. Now, one of the other things that's really cool about this is that then integrates with the help desk. So when people start commenting on the forum, maybe you've got 10 membership sites with forums on all 10 of those different sites. Maybe you've got another forum on your website and people are just commenting on all these different forums. Well, all of those posts are actually going to land up inside of your help desk in one central space. So you can respond to all of the forum posts and threads and questions and whatever else. You can do moderation. You can do all of that here from the help desk forum space. And those responses are going to reflect throughout the rest of the system. We've we are focusing, I mentioned this on a previous State of the Platform address, but we are focusing, Funneler as a company is going to be really focusing on community. Now we need a little bit of time to get some of the new functionality out. Here you can see we've got a coming soon message over here, but we want to be a community-driven platform where we are serving the community and the community is serving the community. And so we're going to be building tons of additional functionality into the forums for ourselves to use. And of course, every time we add a new feature that we use, that feature becomes available to you. So you can expect some nice updates on the social side. Again, I'm not going to give you timelines or anything, but there's going to be gamification, there's going to be badges, there's going to be levels, there's just going to be leaderboards, it's just all sorts of cool stuff coming to our social functionality. Okay, so Howard says that there are a few niggly little forum issues, and you've submitted a number of them. And yes, we're going to be putting, as I just mentioned there, we're going to be putting a lot of time into the social functionality soon. We haven't invested that time yet. We're going to be really attacking the forms functionality. But once forms is done, the affiliate program, the social functionality for forums, that's another one. The programs functionality, I mean, a really cool feature that's been requested is the ability to do like assessments where people can upload stuff and you can like grade it and so on, and for it to spit out at the end, like certificates and stuff like that. So we've got plans over there as well. I mean, again, I'm not giving any timelines or anything, but I'm just saying that once we've got this big blockage right now, which is forms, we're going to get that out. And after that, we're going to be focusing on a lot of those sections, and forums is definitely one of those. Will forms include conditional logic? Absolutely. Can we include 2 gigs per user for uploads included in the pricing? So that's related to the file management. Yeah, so I'm not quite sure what it's going to look like, but yes, we'll have some kind of package. I really don't know what it's going to look like yet, though. Very unique affiliate program, sounds amazing. Hope you can make it happen. Me too. I think we've kind of worked out almost everything. We've had to do some hard yards, but we are pretty close now to agreeing on the structure and agreeing that it all works. And then it's just a case of adding all the functionality. So this over here on the top right of your dashboard, this is the affiliate functionality. So when this changes from coming soon, and you can click on this and you can get your affiliate links and so on, then we are ready to go. So feature request, double opt-in, absolutely. That's a common one, definitely on the roadmap. So feature request, hey, we've actually got this one. Mike Turner says that show or hide visibility rules based on whether the user's logged in or logged out. So we've actually got something well, not just something like that. We've got that, but we've got that on steroids. So let me just quickly show you some of how that works. So I'm going to go, and well, you might actually be looking for something more specific, but let me just quickly show you how this works. So if you go to, for example, Pages, and this applies to not just Pages, payout methods and or payment methods and shipping methods, and there's a ton of things, programs. There's a ton of things that have this conditional availability, but Pages is one example. So if I go into this page, you'll see over here it says availability, and at the moment it says available to all users. I can click on that, and then I can add a condition, and I can say users who have certain access, like have registered access, or users who don't have registered access. That means the person's logged out, for example. And I can add as many conditions as I want. If the user is logged out and is in a certain country or has a certain rank or has a certain status or whatever, so I can say active members who are logged out can now see this page as an example. And yeah, and so you can not only do it based on logged in, logged out, you can do it based on any kind of access level. In fact, that's one of the features that a lot of people don't know exists that is really very powerful. Users, so I'm going the wrong direction now, setup. And then from setup, we go to, got to get this chat out the way. So you can go setup, then you can go users, then you can go access. And here you can create different access levels. And then you can say, depending on the person's access level, they can see different content, they can see different modules in your programs, they can see different pages on your websites. There's all sorts of stuff that you can do with access that a lot of people don't know even exists. Will an app or similar be available for audio as well? Yes, that's definitely something that is in the pipeline. Feature requests, block row, column, element, IDs, and titles for SEO targeting. We already do have the ability to create IDs for content, but not for blocks, rows, and columns. You can do it for elements. In fact, you might be able to do it for columns, but just maybe log for SEO and targeting with CSS or JavaScript, like JS slide. So what we are hopefully going to do is create features that would prevent you from needing JavaScript. So we've got plans for a slider, for example, and we've already for SEO created the necessary tagging functionality. So the main thing you would need those IDs for is for CSS and JavaScript. If you've requested that feature through the system, that's going to be logged. Awesome. Thanks, Jennifer. Assessments? Heck yes. Again, just humor me while I stare blankly at the screen. Right, Jennifer, so you had, like, your program was had artists uploading content, if I'm not mistaken. I might actually be getting my lines crossed, but with those assessments, I think that's largely based on your feature request. How do I see the front end that my students see? So we've got some training videos on that. You should be able to just, basically it looks the same for editors as it does for members. So we have some training videos on this. If you've enabled membership sites, you just click on membership sites. Otherwise, you go to your website, programs, and your program is there. But we've got some training videos on that. So, Bob, the updates are not going to appear when you log out and log in. The updates are going to appear when we release them a little bit later this week. We didn't want to release them until we had spent some time like explaining some of the thinking behind these features. I didn't want you guys to just log in one day and suddenly nothing was where you thought it was. And, you know, I wanted to first introduce it. So we are going to start releasing it soon, and it's going to roll out probably over the next, well, we're going to start releasing it probably tomorrow, but it's going to reach everybody within the next week or 2 weeks, because everybody gets updated like in blocks. We don't just upgrade everyone at the same time. Where do we log feature requests? You can log a ticket. So you just click on your name on the top right of your dashboard and you can log a ticket. We have got a feature coming. I mean, this, you can see how big this backlog is. We have a feature coming where you'll be able to log feature requests and people will be able to vote on them and all sorts of stuff. So that's coming, but for now you log that via tickets. So I'm opening 2 more businesses and I'm wondering if I can separate each business on this platform, or if I'll need to purchase multiple funneler systems. So the way that this is a good question. The way that it works is you can run multiple branches of a single business through a funneler account. So if you've got, let's talk John, for example, if you've got the Future of Webinars and you've got Tube Ads Academy and so on, those all are connected to the same legal entity. You know, it's all connected to ad clients, but each of those different products has its own website and has a program with a membership site. So you can run as many websites and as many programs and as many funnels and as many domains as you want for a business, but you can't have multiple legal entities. There's, you know, the invoices are going to come from one legal entity and so on. All right, it looks like I'm getting to the end of the chat. So it actually looks like I've reached the end of the chat, guys. Thanks so much for joining us on this webinar. Are there any last minute questions that you'd like to ask? Otherwise, I'm gonna call it a day. I'm gonna give you a few more seconds. Thanks, Liz. Awesome. All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. You know, I know that there's a ton of stuff that you guys are looking for, and I want you to know that, you know, we are working flat out to give you, and we're loving it. This is certainly not a complaint. We absolutely love working on the system. You know, I told you the story about the back of the statues, and I think that kind of sums up how we work on the system. We, as a team, love this product. To me, this software is like one of my children, and we put so much, not just effort into building everything out, but so much effort into making it as beautiful as possible, to making it as easy as possible, to, you know, working with you guys in features and making sure that it is as rich as possible. And when we add features, we don't just slam something in to get it out to you. We think about how it integrates with the whole. And, you know, we really pour our hearts and our souls into this platform to try and make it as amazing as possible. And, you know, obviously I've got a whole team of developers, but I really think of the team as a team of artists. And I make sure that everybody in the team understands that that's what we're going for. We are going for perfection. Our goal is to build the best piece of software on planet Earth. That's really what we're aiming for. Again, our best work is on the back of the statue. Our best work is stuff that people don't even see. This isn't a case of all beauty on the one end and rubbish on the other end. From end to end, we try to make this as beautiful and seamless as we can. And we are really loving putting this together. We are loving every new iteration that's going out. And I feel like this is a real strong partnership between you guys as a community and us as a company, because the system would not be where it is right now without your feedback, without your requests. A lot of people send in messages with feature requests and they say, I'm really sorry, this isn't a criticism, but could we add this thing? And, you know, that's just not the way we see it at all. When you guys bring feature requests and when you say, hey, this piece of the system is clunky, or this piece kind of sucks, that is not criticism for us. That is collaboration. That's us working together as a team to create something amazing. And we really wouldn't be able to do that without you. So I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for pouring so much of your experience and your ideas and your creativity into what really is one of my children. I can tell you from the bottom of my heart that I genuinely appreciate that you never have to be apologetic with me when you say something is clunky. Anytime someone says something is clunky, that to me is just opportunity for us to go and polish something up even more. So I'm loving this journey. I know that you guys have a lot more features. I want you to know that every single day, I wake up and I'm flat out trying to make all of your dreams come true. And that's true of my entire team. So we are going to make it happen. It's going to take a bit of time, but we are taking steps towards that goal every single day. And, you know, this I want you guys to feel the sense of partnership that I feel in this project. So yeah, anyway, loads of cool comments coming in. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I think we're going to call it a night, and I'm going to chat with you guys some more in the community. So yeah, cheers. I don't actually know how to turn this thing off. Oh, there we go. And ciao.